live in the dungeon. This is the Dream Warrior Review. I'm Kurt Thomas.
I'm Strawn.
And this is episode 75. While a zombie virus breaks out in South Korea, passengers struggle to survive on the train from Seoul to Busan, I think is how you say it.
Busan, yeah.
And it's Train to Busan. Zombie movie.
Right. And
so
what a zombie movie.
Different than...
Holy crap. This zombie movie is so... you know what it is? This is The Walking Dead on steroids. I mean, completely... Totally. The way...
One thing that was better, though, is they actually explained what happened better than The Walking Dead.
Right, they did. And I have to say this. I thought to myself, and I'd seen this, recently several times, and I thought, Train to Busan. It's like, ugh.
Yeah, the same feeling.
How can you get a whole story in there, right?
But this is for Father's Day, which we forgot to mention. This is our special Father's Day episode.
Is it really?
Yes. Cue the Father's Day music.
Thank you, Daddy. Thank you, Daddy. Thank you, Daddy.
This film took the whole zombie experience and ratcheted it up. And I mean, and you know what? There was something, you know what was weird about it? Is there was something light about it, too. I mean, everything was brightly lit, and the movements were incredibly, when it happened to somebody, they turned and all of a sudden you could just see it. And yet there was an incredibly intense drama.
Yeah. There was even like a little story that was kind of soapy, like soap opera-y or cheesy.
Well, completely. It had a great core story. The thing is if you're doing zombie films again and again and again and again, you need the core story.
Do you know what got me with this one though, more than anything, was how fast they were.
It was just terrifying. And as groups, it's funny because there was something that they achieved in Z.
Yeah.
Z. Brad Pitt was in Z, right?
Yeah.
And there was something that they achieved on that with the zombies trying to get over each other.
Right, crawling over each other.
To climb over things and stuff like that. And here's the thing. They were the most optical effects looking zombies you've ever seen in your life. Now, I am almost 100% sure that everything that was done with the full zombies, for the most part in this film, was real.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, and when they did the groups, there's
one scene on the train where
just went crazy.
A group of zombies were coming after somebody, and they did that effect where people were piling on each other. But that was amazing. I mean, it's like, enhanced a lot, but I was like, oh, that was awesome.
Yeah. These guys, the short gestation period of the zombie.
It was very short.
It was very short.
But there was one character that held it off for a while, and I was like, how is he fighting it somehow? Like, rrr.
Yeah.
He was actually a great character.
By the way, he was. You know what? Yeah. And the thing is
they were
dialogue,
good actors.
They were really good actors, and the dialogue between them was so interesting because there was a little character arc between the main characters. This kind of floating, who's the nice guy and who's the dickhead, right?
Right.
And
they also came from different backgrounds. And
right, the full bit, and that the turnaround and the growth within that, and it was just amazing.
And then I didn't like the guy you didn't like. I call him face.
Yeah, face. Because everybody else did.
If it wasn't for him, more people probably would have survived.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So there always has to be one of those guys.
Well, yeah, there's
face. Watch out for him.
Yeah, and
the daughter was great. Don't you think the daughter was great?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, she
There's
was.
some scenes with just her by herself,
and the way that I'm not going to say at all how it ended, but the way it resolved itself at the end was super touching and super cool. It was laid out through the whole film, and it would have been hard to recognize.
And I'm so glad we didn't do Ghost Dad, because this has more of a message behind Father's Day. Because Ghost Dad doesn't really do it.
This is amazing. I just
didn't think it was the right time to do Bill Cosby movies, so. He didn't do any zombie movies.
Yeah, I don't think so. Well, he didn't do any good ones. Right. He did zombie movies where he was actually acting normally, and and it became, it's sort of like they became zombies because he was in them.
Right.
More cause and effect kind of thing. I cannot believe that I'm going to come up with 2 in a row of sitting up there at least around 4,
See, what's weird is I rate this higher than Hotel Artemis, and I can't tell you why.
Why would you do that? You are wrong.
I'm close to a 4 on this one. I'm 3.8.
Oh, you're just an unhappy man deep down inside.
I'm very miserable. It's the 2-year-old inside me. No, 3.8.
It's childlike, not childish, you jerk.
3.8, but no, it's just amazing. I might be a little bit biased. I might be rating it higher because we've been watching a lot of zombie movies lately.
Yeah,
a lot of TV shows. A
lot of them, yeah.
And this is so different than all of the other ones.
Yeah, you know what? And there was another element to this one that I thought was really interesting. Is there were titles, right? Because it is a foreign.
Yeah, subtitles.
It's a Korean film,
right?
And by the way, it's kind of interesting that their cars, they drive on the same side of the street as we do,
right?
Which is Japan is the other side of the street.
Well,
so.
If you look at the history of the North Korean War, I think maybe that's probably partly why.
Right. No. It is. It's an enemies thing. You try to switch. I mean, this goes all the way. This probably goes much further back, but it definitely goes at least as far as the Revolutionary War. Which side you drive your cart on the road, would be tell you whether you were American or a Brit. But the element of just went right out of my mind.
I was waiting for it.
Yeah, I know.
It'll come back probably.
And what I wanted to point out was what it's like to film on a train.
And I didn't say my stupid line that I was going to say.
Well, okay, go ahead.
Forget snakes on a plane. What about zombies on a train?
Yeah, exactly. I remember the point that I was going to make is it could have done without any dialogue at all.
Right.
I mean,
how would you tell the story of the family though because you didn't have one of the members there? How would you tell
I think it would have been really easy because he's on the phone.
Text messaging, maybe.
Yeah, text. He was on the phone. I don't think you would have had to do.
He had one amazing expression when something was going on.
Yeah. I think I have a feeling. I mean, Shaolin soccer. That's another example of one that you wouldn't necessarily have to have any idea what was going on. It's a purely physical thing.
This movie might be creepier without dialogue.
Yeah, I think without knowing what was being said, I think I kind of look for that in some foreign films because there are some foreign films it's just really obvious that you could get away with it without it. But my experience of shooting in trains is that trains are really, really hard.
Well, it's you're in a really confined space, right?
Well, it's a confined space, but I wonder how they did it because they were. I mean, it didn't look like they would have used a lot of optics in it, and it kind of looked like a lot of it could have just been filmed, on the tracks, going down the tracks.
Yeah,
which is,
and it's more roomy than Strangers on a Train or one of those movies where
right
you do a lot of cuts. This had a lot of wide shots where people were
and with people spilling in and stuff like that. I would love to get a logistics sheet as to which ones were shot, with a blue screen in the background, or which ones were, you know, computer enhanced with people coming in, and which ones are just, which shots were just,
there's got to be somebody in South Korea listening right now that could send that.
Yeah, that would be great. I would so love to know that. I mean, you know, because we did second unit on Runaway Train, and especially up there because of the frozen tracks.
Story time.
Story time. It's story time with Mick.
Story time with Mick.
Story time with Mick.
Story time with Mick. Story time with Mick. Story time.
You know, you would you would get back down there. You get there with the camera. I mean, sometimes in the snow, my job was to get everybody into place and then make the snow look like snow again,
Right.
when it was 10 feet deep. You know, which is an exhausting job. I mean, it's absolutely just wipe you out. And we had the entire wrecked frontage that had to keep coming on and off and on and off the train, which was incredibly heavy. And we had to put the heavy crane on first, that was made just to strap over the cab, and then take it off, and then take that back off, and all the time doing this in 0 or below weather. And oh man, working it was rough. And the other thing is trains don't stop fast, and boy, especially when the tracks are frozen, they really don't stop fast. I mean, it could come down the road, and probably for every 10 miles an hour, you've got it's a mile and a half to stop that momentum. So, you know, like we were shooting the second unit in action, and we would shoot, you know, the train coming down the track, and the train goes whoosh. It goes by, and you know, we'd be there for an hour. We'd be there for an hour and a half or something. Like your film count for the day would be like 8 shots.
Oh man,
you know, and you're just like, oh god, this is just gonna go on. I remember the very first time that we rode out of Anchorage, and what we had is the 4 cars that were part of that made up the train, and those 4 cars, we had put together a train of 10 cars that those 4 pulled, and those 10 were our living. Because the thing is if you went out on the tracks, the days were short, the nights were long, and what you wanted to do is you didn't want to waste the time going back out there again. So we just left for a week, right? And we went out of Anchorage, and in Anchorage, you know, a lot of things are the snow's tamped down, and it's been plowed as it's going along, and so there's occasionally you actually do step on something that you can recognize as being concrete or asphalt or something like
Right.
that. And I remember the very first time the very first day that we went out, and we were setting up for the first thing. I mean, art department on second, I was working effects and art swing on second unit, and you know, like one of the jobs that we had to do is make it not look like it was in Alaska. So you would see little signs on the side of the, you know, we'd have to take signs down and then put them back up again. And oh god, it was such a process. And all the time you had to cover your tracks. But I didn't know anything about snow when I got up there. You know, I mean,
Right.
I swear when I got out of the airplane and they were fixing they were redoing the whole airport when I first got up there. So literally when we land, it's like all you could see out the windows was snow. It was that tall.
Oh man.
And the snow was, you know, you just saw a bank here and a bank there. And so we went out, and I remember she opens the door, and I'm the first there because there's only 3 of us that actually went all the way to Alaska. And the door opened up like that, and California boy standing there, it was like minus 25 or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I took a breath of like air at 25 degrees, and I scrambled to get back into the
Right. Oh yeah.
I was like, this doesn't really work for me. I mean, of course I got used to it, but in fact, you get really used to it. I mean, it isn't long before it can go up to 20 degrees and you're sweating.
You think it's hot outside?
You think you're going around in a t-shirt, because it's gone up to 20 degrees. It's crazy. But I remember that we went out the first day that we went out and we got all the snow right, which was like a whole other issue and took days and days and days and days and days. And we get out to the first place which was just a couple of shots of the train going by. And so I was supposed to get out of the train and tromp down and pull the signs down and then cover the tracks and stuff. And so I get out there and I had my handy hoe and a rake in one hand, a hoe in the other, and the doors open up on the support train, that we've been dropped off and the train's out and running, and and I just step and it's even. Right?
Right.
I'm saying the door opens, and I think,
there's ground there.
Isn't that incredibly convenient? All I
know
have
where this
to
is
do,
going, yeah.
Right? And I swear, I took a step, and I just it's like, wow, everything went white. And I remember I somehow or other, I was still standing up, but I had the hoe in one hand, the rake in the other, and I just did one of these tilt-ups with my head going, what the hell? And I was still about 4 feet below the top of the snow that I just stepped into.
That's awesome.
I was like, oh my God, this is going to... And boy, from then on, I was just like, ugh. And you know what we would do is we would... If you went with a snow shovel and you just kind of did this sweeping thing... You could tunnel yourself from one point to, because you knew where the track was and you knew that you were down here and you go boom, 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 and then work yourself down to the next sign, disconnect it at the base and pull it under. And then you could go to the next one. You'd have to take out about 3 or 4 of them. And you just drop them like that. And you're not even... You don't have to worry about fixing it because you still have 3 feet of
right.
completely packed snow over your head, and you're just making these tunnels.
Yeah.
And I remember when the tunnels would fall in, because eventually they just would, right? And you're like, oh, God, the second take I'm gonna have to completely change all this, and you're like, and it was work. So
yeah, I'm not a fan of snow.
Yeah. And trains and they're slow and
I
hard.
love trains.
And well, I love trains. I got to the point to where I could do some things with a GP40 you wouldn't believe. I mean, I obviously did things with a GTP40 engine that absolutely nobody had ever done before and probably has not done since. I put the entire braking system on a remote control, and I could virtually walk around to the other side of the camera, no matter what it was, no matter where the camera was. I could walk, around the rail, or I could walk into the engine compartment and I could make it brake, or I could make it gas up, because of where the camera was, you have to see that the conductor had passed out, right? And I had literally, I was using the technology of buttons that I got from control systems for garage door openers. Right. And I can speed it up or slow it down, and speed it up and slow it down. It was hilarious. And I had the servos all hooked up and all the rest of this. And the thing that's great about it is they are so simple. I mean, it was exactly like the 1964 VW van I grew up with, right? Only really big. Right. It was a lot of fun. I had a good time.
Cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was cold as hell, but
No zombies, though.
Well,
you guys were zombies.
I had to. We were. I was gonna say, you certainly started walking like that after a while. when your ass in the area between your legs is completely frozen cold, you start to walk exactly like a zombie.
Right.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Yep.
See, and now I appreciate when I see somebody walking in the snow and they're like, oh, and they're like kind of like swinging themselves from one side to the other. I understand. I mean,
yeah,
alligator ass is one thing, but frozen.
I can handle alligator,
but frozen alligator ass.
So there's a reason why I grew up in Wyoming and ended up living in Florida for a while.
Exactly.
So our brothers and I,
alligator ass country.
One of our jobs was to make a path for the dog. So we'd have 3 or 4 feet of snow.
Yeah.
And we'd have to make a tunnel. And I was a sadistic motherfucker when I was a kid because I would take the dog, little poodle,
right?
Like, toy poodle.
Check the
I
size.
would throw it in the. No, I'd just throw it in the snow. And if it was deep enough, sometimes you could either not see the dog at all and you can see it kind of moving.
Right, exactly.
Or you can just see a tail like this. And I just would stand there and watch the tail. And I'd call out to her so she could come.
Let's face it. That's fun, right?
But I was it was bad. But no, after a while I grew up and I was like, okay, I'll help shovel. So we'd make a tunnel for the dog to go pee. And it would take the path and pee and then walk back.
This is the kind of kid that so that's, as long as we're doing, animal tortures. Okay.
Well, the dog enjoyed it.
I got the worst one ever.
No animals were harmed during this podcast.
I got the worst one for you ever. There used to be a chemical called PhotoFlow. And PhotoFlow, it was really, really cheap. And what it did is it made water wetter.
Oh, okay.
And you used it in photography.
Yeah.
And from the youngest age, I did my own photography from actually when I was in junior high. And I had a dark room and I did black. And I used to
still have a enlarger somewhere.
Oh, really?
I mean, I do photography.
And I stole all my equipment, from not all my equipment, but all my chemicals I stole from the school. So they were cheap and there was no cost. And so I used to walk to the park in Riverside or not walk to the park, but I would drive my car. 16 years old, I had my car. And I used to go out to the park and feed the ducks, right? And I thought what would it do if I poured PhotoFlow in the water and then fed the ducks? and inquiring minds, right? I became a special effects tech, designer. Yep. So, I mean, inquiring minds need to know.
Might be useful for later on.
I did it, and I sunk like 20 ducks right in front of me. They just went right to the bottom, and it was really shallow, and it's like completely freaking out. And I was jumping in the water and throwing ducks out of the water, and they would waddle back in, and they'd go right to the bottom. And it was a process that took about an hour of doing that, trying to throw. And there were people that were watching me going, "What the?"
That was awesome to watch that.
Not what the hell is he doing? But
what's wrong with the ducks?
What's wrong with the ducks? They would just like boom, right to the bottom. So I do know what makes water wetter. So
I'm just taking that in.
Yeah, take it in and imagine some of the experiments that I did as a horrible child.
Well, if that was one of the nice examples, I don't know if I want to know anymore.
There are a lot of them that I'm keeping to myself.
Right, I have some that I'm keeping to myself probably, but yeah.
So on that silly and sordid note, I think we're done.
Yes.
Bye.
This is Kurt Thomas along with Mick Strawn. Thank you for listening to the Dream Warrior Review. If you have any questions or just have feedback for our show, we welcome them at dreamwarriorreview@gmail.com. Of course, you can find us on Facebook and Twitter as well. As always, please follow us and tell your friends about us too. See you next time.